welcome. Good morning here from Limitless for the Stuttgart Regional Championship. I'm Marcus Batter and I'm joined by Luke Romy on this wonderful morning here to have yet another regional championship in the video game. Everyone is excited. We are here in Germany. And yeah, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing really well. I'm so excited to be here. It's such a beautiful day here, a sunny day in Germany, and all the players are seated, ready for round one. It's been a really exciting morning. It's been really smoothly and in a really good spirit. And it's really nice seeing everyone, bring other international friends as well, all here at this event. So I think it's going to be a really incredible week.
Definitely, and of course, unlike in a trading card game where they're actually playing Spawned, which is a totally different storyline over there, we are playing VGC18, however now, of course, with the addition of Intimidate Incineroar, which of course was also already legal for the Prague Championships here, but it's the first like really big regional championships here in Europe, where that Pokemon is out and can be used.
We can stream it really, because unfortunately we couldn't stream it Prague, so
exactly.
we'll be able to, I'm sure, bring you lots of Intimidate.
So we will have some switch-ups in terms of what the metagame is like compared to what we saw at the Marvel Regional Championship. Of course, Jamie Boyd in the end, emerging victorious, also in attendance in this tournament. We'll try to kind of like defend the title of being the most recent regional champion here, but of course there's also a lot more great players to watch for. We have a lot of players, of course, coming in this tournament from Germany, but also Italy, Spain, UK, you name it. And yeah, there's also, of course, always the possibility to have a surprise of some of those nations that we haven't seen as much in the last couple of years.
Exactly, and of course the home nation always really wants to take that title. So there might be a lot of German players who maybe don't get the opportunity to travel to other countries who might play the regionals, but they're able to come here to make a little bit
keeping his composure, not mega evolving his Metagross just yet. So now, for yet another turn, it is safe from those double intimidate that Serkan has brought to the battle. And it looks like Serkan opted to go for the Mega Venusaur instead of Davide, who only has one option really as his Mega Pokemon. But Serkan could have tried to like level field the off-screen Metagross, but it looks like he really trusts his Venusaur in this mirror matchup.
Exactly, using the Venusaur on the field, but switching out his other Pokemon once again. Landorus is going to go back to his trainer, and Tapu Fini will come into the field. So Pokemon's going to really heavily freshen out his Incineroar, that does have follow-up from the ground, that it might be coming to cover. But this turn, when it's joining Mega Evolution Party, I'm going to evolve. So, going for a Zen Headbutt here, not only looking to keep that Metagross at the moment, often choosing Stomping Punch and an Ice Punch, but it's going to do super effective damage against that Venusaur, so a great choice for Davide. Going to take a lead seat in return though, so Venusaur is going to be able to get a little bit of health back at the end of this. As Incineroar once again out of here, goes for a U-turn, doubling into the Venusaur. Thanks to Intimidate not going to do too much, but that Incineroar is now set to reset its attack stat and give Davide a free switch into the other Pokemon.
Yeah, very nicely done here by Davide. Revealing these and headbutt, of course, as you were saying, is that it's not that common anymore, but Serkan probably didn't expect this. With Big Threat, you can really take those ice punches for days, but now, thanks to those headbutt, this Mega Venusaur of Serkan doesn't really have to feel threatened because Serkan just has two Pokemon with the Intimidate ability in the back, as he's already revealed his Incineroar and the Landorus Stallion, but due to the fact that Davide's Metagross, of course, has still body ability and the fact that he did not Mega Evolve the first turn, there wasn't really any opportunity for Serkan to get off that Intimidate right away. So now his Venusaur already severely weakened, and unless Davide maybe brought the Gastrodon, which then could lead to Venusaur getting off like a very powerful Giga Drain to restore its HP, looks like this Venusaur might not be as much of a factor as it could have been in this matchup, thanks to this headbutt coming to this turn.
Exactly, I don't think Serkan will have anticipated that at all. And you know, if he does want to switch Pokemon, as it looks like he's going to be doing here, he will be able to transfer the lead speed. He does have to watch out for any attacks coming out from that Porygon 2. Probably didn't want to Intimidate it right the Landorus just in case it's keeping the Ice Beam comes out there, so he could do a huge amount of damage. But of course, Intimidate going to go off here. Iron Head going to be the only choice for this turn. Going into Tapu Fini, even with Intimidate, a critical hit comes through and does a huge amount of damage. As Tapu Fini goes on the sort of defensive, sets up a Calm Mind, wants to boost up its defense, special defense and its special attack. You know, that's not going to help it against these Iron Heads, particularly as critical hits keep coming in play. Going to be a Thunderbolt though from the Porygon 2, so poor Tapu Fini here, just going to be doubled into and will be KO'd, returning to Serkan in this turn.
Yeah, and Serkan really wanted to take the opportunity to switch in his Incineroar of what he thought might be another Zen Headbutt going into the Venusaur. However, Davide reading into that very nicely, doubling up into the Tapu Fini that tried to set up there with the Calm Mind. And even though, of course, Davide did get the critical hit there, even without it, Serkan's Tapu Fini would have taken quite a bit of damage. However, then Serkan would have had the opportunity to maneuver around a little bit more with Intimidate and Take Out to neutralize or to like reduce the damage that Metagross could have done. However, again, just want to stress that Davide really reading into that very nicely, not calling for the switch into the Incineroar, and Serkan, well, had to pay for it with his with the Tapu Fini that didn't do anything this game really, and now he is forced to bring out the Venusaur once again because of course Landorus doesn't really do too much against a Porygon 2, so maybe now Serkan wants to try and knock off the Porygon before the Landorus hits the field. However, Porygon on the other hand would be able to set up the Trick Room if Davide tries to do that, and Davide really seemingly in a very, very nice position here now, switching in his own Incineroar, getting off Intimidate against his opposing Incineroar, and also threatening a little bit more damage onto that Mega Venusaur in the coming turns.
Exactly, and the Metagross switching out now has its Intimidate reset, so its attack will go back up when it comes in. Venusaur just going to go for another Leech Seed here, as Incineroar doesn't go for Fake Out, goes there for Knockoff. It's going to do a little bit of damage to Porygon 2, but most crucially knocking off that Eevee Light, so its defenses will be reduced as it sets up Trick Room.
Yeah, and there is the knockoff and the Trick Room that we've been just talking about, but it looks like Davide really should be the one that can take advantage of this. Usually, the Mega Venusaur is a Pokemon that is so difficult to take down and makes it very, very tough to go through, but of course, on the other hand, Porygon 2 also one of those Pokemon. However, now that Serkan has removed the Eevee, Porygon 2 not as difficult to take out as it would normally be, but Serkan would really need a couple of more turns to get that Leech Seed recovery going on this Venusaur, maybe get in some Giga Drains here and there, but Davide once again, he still has the Trick Room up. It's Metagross in the back, which we know is his third Pokemon. Can't really do too much here against that Incineroar, for example, under the Trick Room, but there's still one more Pokemon that Davide has not revealed, and it looks like this time around he once again calls the move of the Venusaur correctly. No Protect coming out, and it's
Just
a double target by Davide. Very nicely done.
That's just something Davide has done this whole game. He's called his double targets correctly and has really managed to gain such strong sort of advantage in this game so far. It's going to be a Flare Blitz coming out from Serkan's own Incineroar. Going to do some good damage to Porygon too, seeing that seeing that the EV Light has now been removed. But Davide is just so strong at the moment, really getting into Serkan's head and knowing what move choices he's going to do and being able to work his team around it. And you know, although this opposing Incineroar is not going to take the Intimidate, if it is sporting something like a low kick, it's going to be able to threaten the opposing Incineroar as well.
Yeah, and Serkan is now down to his last two Pokemon, whereas Davide still has two healthy Pokemon in the back. And we have already seen that this Landorus was a Choice Scarf variant, as the Choice Scarf was removed by knockoff on the very first turn, so nothing that Landorus could have really done there to prevent an Ice Beam, to take it right out. And yeah, really nicely done here by Davide. You were saying it, those two double targets, really just hitting Serkan's Pokemon for knockouts, of course, at the aid of a critical hit here against that Tapu Fini. But even without that, I thought Davide was in a very strong position, and Serkan certainly has to switch things up a little bit. Of course, now he has the knowledge about the moveset of his opponent's Mega Metagross, because that once again was a key factor here in taking out that Venusaur, because without it, of course, Incineroar being a fire type should match up nicely against the grass type that Venusaur is. However, with a thick fat ability, yeah, the damage of Flare Blitz just being halved, meaning that, yeah, that Venusaur could take on an Incineroar quite nicely. And so, yeah, it's not that easy to figure out a way of beating that Mega Venusaur, but Davide was able to fit Zen Headbutt onto the moveset of his Pokemon here, and it's really paying off dividends here in this first game.
It certainly is, and particularly you often see maybe Zen Headbutt paired with like a Tapu Lele, for example, so you can really get the boost from the Psychic Terrain. That's not a Pokemon that Davide is carrying, so if you were Serkan, you really would be surprised by seeing Zen Headbutt on there. And if I was him, I would be wondering what that fourth move is going to be. You can sort of assume, we've seen Protect, we've seen Iron Head and Zen Headbutt. Is it going to be Stomping Tantrum or Ice Punch? And that can be good knowledge, for example, with his Landorus. If it's Stomping Tantrum, Landorus isn't going to bother about that. He's flying up in the air. But if it's Ice Punch, then he does still have to be really concerned.
Yeah, but if it is Ice Punch, then that might be what gives his own Mega Metagross the edge in that mirror matchup, because, of course, that is also a route he could go down if he decides to just go with his own Mega Metagross, knowing that his opponent does not have Stomping Tantrum, not really any way of touching his Metagross. Then that could be the way of him to kind of approach the mirror, so he would not have to rely on alternating his Mega Pokemon and going with the Venusaur as a secondary option. So it looks like Serkan still has a couple of options here, and maybe it could have been a way for him, or like maybe he could have tried to find out about that information in the last game, but on the other hand, I don't think that Davide really had any reason to use any more attacks with his Metagross, as the Porygon and the Incineroar probably would have just been able to take home the game. And so Serkan on his also probably didn't want to reveal any more information about his own Incineroar.
Exactly, just
so
get into game 2.
Exactly, getting into game 2, and in the first game, Serkan really had decided the Pokemon that he wanted to choose pretty early on, but now it's the other way around. Davide knowing exactly what he wanted to do, and Serkan taking a little bit of second thought here. And yeah, so we're heading into the second game. Of course, now the question could be what Serkan could do to change things up a little bit. Another Pokemon that we haven't really talked about is that Zapdos on Serkan's team. On the other hand, Davide having two Ground-type Pokemon, not something you see very often, but that really certainly limits the amount of damage that Zapdos can really do against Davide's team. So let's see if Serkan decided to switch things up here.
Well, there's been a switch up. Certainly, Davide has gone for Gastrodon and Metagross as his leads, whereas Serkan has gone for Venusaur and Tapu Fini. So certainly a few changes here. That Gastrodon does not want to be looking at that Venusaur right about now.
Not at all.
So I can probably see Davide maybe protecting or switching it out of the field here turn 1.
Yeah, maybe Davide was actually expecting the Mega Metagross to come out from Serkan now that Serkan has the information about Zen Headbutt. However, Serkan, yeah, just playing things cool here, going with the Venusaur, and yeah, he is rewarded for it just now as we're seeing that Gastrodon. However, of course, Incineroar could be one of those switch-ins that Davide still might have in his back, or also the Porygon, since neither the Tapu Fini nor the Venusaur can do particularly much damage against that Pokemon. However, on the other side, it's also difficult to see how Davide can break through the Tapu Fini right now. Once again, it might come down to him just really calling those protects and switches by Serkan to have his Mega Metagross be the key damage dealer here.
Exactly, and that Tapu Fini will probably want to get set up straight away as well, get its defenses and its special attack boosted up. Going to see the Metagross Mega Evolve straight away in turn 1 here, as will the Venusaur being paired up here. Be interesting to see if the Gastrodon stays in. I can imagine it would be more a Porygon 2 as opposed to an Incineroar switch in, just because Incineroar doesn't want to be taking any damage from this Tapu Fini, but instead, no switches coming out. Tapu Fini is going to protect straight away, as will the Gastrodon. So Davide still choosing to protect it. Probably wants to scout out a little bit what Serkan wants to go for here. As Metagross goes straight for an Iron Head into the protect there. So great call from Serkan, as it is another Leech Seed. Once again targeting that Metagross, but this time as it chose to attack, he's managed to get it off.
Yeah, very nicely done here by Serkan. Now he's the one calling the move of the Mega Metagross correctly. Of course, it would be very dangerous for him to just leave out the Venusaur in the open, vulnerable to that Zen Headbutt that we now know is a factor on Davide's Metagross. So Davide probably is thinking, now there's no way he's just leaving the Venusaur in, just like he did in the first game. But Serkan, on the other hand, knowing that Davide was probably not going to just have his Gastrodon just be Giga Drained, so either there was like a switch coming or a Protect going for the Leech Seed in the Venusaur. Very nicely done by Serkan, and now that the Mega Metagross of his opponent has Mega Evolved, he has a chance to switch in one of his Intimidators, get off Intimidate, and then also recover a little bit with the Leech Seed that he has just used. So it looks like his position is not that bad at all.
No, certainly not. Switching for the Porygon 2, and it is going to be a flinch from that Tapu Fini. Going to take an Iron Head. No crit this time, though, so you do not see it do as much damage. But it's going to be a Giga Drain coming off from the Venusaur as well. So if that Gastrodon had stayed in, very likely would have been KO'd there. But not too much damage going off here. But unfortunately for Serkan, the Tapu Fini did flinch.
There was definitely an option here for Tapu Fini of Serkan to go for something like a Calm Mind. However, I think a play that I would have liked to see would be switching Tapu Fini into Incineroar, if that is a Pokemon that Serkan did bring to the battle, because that would have reduced the amount of damage the Metagross would have done. Zen Headbutt really doesn't do too much anyway to Incineroar, and then also, even if the Gastrodon stayed in, Giga Drain would have hit it, and if it switches out, that means that one Pokemon that Incineroar doesn't want to face is off the field. So I think that could have been something that Serkan could have tried. Instead, he probably wanted to try and set up a Calm Mind that he can hit the Metagross with Muddy Water in the following turns. However, now he's taking yet another Iron Head and
another
flinches
flinch.
again.
This poor Tapu Fini is being punished for staying in here at the moment. Going to be a Giga Drain coming off from the Venusaur into the Metagross, as a Thunderbolt comes in from Porygon 2 just to pick up the KO on that Tapu Fini. So really unfortunate there for Serkan. I agree with you though, Marcus. I think an Incineroar switch in there would have been really good, applying pressure to that Metagross and also just weakening it. It hasn't got clear body anymore. The more you can weaken it, the less damage it can do to both your Tapu Fini and Venusaur, which it does have super effective moves for.
Yeah, and then Incineroar also really nice against that Porygon with knockoff that we have already seen in the first game. It looks like Landorus is the Pokemon of choice here for Serkan to switch in. And once again, Davide calling a double target correctly. The Tapu Fini of Serkan did not protect, and it also didn't switch out. But yeah, of course, with that flinch, or with those two flinches, that's definitely not what Serkan wanted to see. One option something he probably could have done here was like using something like a Z move with Waterium Z going for the Hydro Vortex into that Metagross slot, if that is something. We didn't see one of those 50% berries, and he also tried to cover that slot with a Giga Drain to potentially cover a Gastrodon switch in. However, neither of that happened. The Tapu Fini flinched, and then the Giga Drain didn't do too much to the Metagross at all. So once again, Davide in a very strong position here.
Exactly, and Intimidate's coming in left, right, and centre for both Landorus and the Incineroar. So with the Incineroar switch in, that Landorus wants to U-turn, get straight back out there so it can Intimidate, Annihilate, and also preserve its attack stat. We have seen that it's the Choice Scarf variant as well, so we want to make sure that if you're Serkan, that it's got the highest attack and speed that it can possibly have. He switches out one Intimidator for Annihilate, though. Once again, Incineroar coming onto the field, going to intimidate the opposing Incineroar there. Porygon 2's not going to worry about that at all, but it will be taking a Leech Seed, however. So Venusaur here really wants to get the Leech Seeds out, keep regaining a load of health, particularly when it's facing down against this opposing Incineroar. Ice Beam not going to do too much damage to Incineroar, as you know, was a Landorus, so a good call there from Porygon 2 in case it did stay in, but having the Incineroar there means very little damage was taken this turn. Yeah,
nothing really happening except for some adjustment of the positions. Incineroar joining the party on the field right here, and we did see now that Serkan did have that Incineroar, in fact, so that definitely is, in my opinion, it was a missed opportunity for him to switch that in earlier against the Mega Metagross of his opponent. That could have been he could have established a pretty strong position, and then have the Tapu Fini later on to deal with the Incineroar of his opponent. Now though, of course, Serkan is still trying there, going for the knockoff once again on that Porygon, which in return sets up that triple.
Exactly, I think that was the first fake out we've actually seen of this game so far, with two Incineroars. It's mainly just been Flare Blitz and knockoff.
Yep.
But it was nice to see Davide there using the fake out onto the Venusaur, stopping it from getting off any more leech seeds, and allowing the Porygon 2 to be able to set up that Trick Room. So now he's in that environment that really did close out game 1 for him. He's got that situation back up again. If he can utilize that Incineroar, we've also seen he's got the Gastrodon in the back, so that's great against the opposing Incineroar and Landorus on Serkan's side.
Certainly. So once again, not really too much damage being dealt there. The Porygon probably wants to go for a recover here, and Davide going for his own knockoff now, removing the Mega Berry of Serkan's Incineroar.
Exactly, so no recovery for Serkan's Incineroar, but Porygon 2 going to hit that recover button, going to regain a little bit of health as Incineroar goes for a knockoff in return. So both these Incineroars just want to find out what the other one is holding. With a critical hit here, it's going to be a Mago Berry as well. They've both brought the same snack to the party here, as it's going to be a Leech Seed coming off from Venusaur once again. No fake out this turn, obviously, so it can get it set off. And it's now, I believe it's Leech Seed of both of Davide's Pokemon, so Venusaur here can sit quite pretty.
Yep.
If Serkan wants to maybe bring in his Landorus just to intimidate the opposing Incineroar so it does a little bit less damage, stacked up with the thick fat, that's going to be able to protect his Venusaur to maybe stall out this Trick Room a little.
Yeah, and I think Venusaur is probably the one option that Serkan still has, his one win condition of how he could still emerge victorious here in this battle. Because Davide, once again, he has a couple of Pokemon that can really stand in front of a Venusaur for a couple of turns. However, with Leech Seed and all the recovery also from Giga Drain, it is difficult to really take down the Venusaur, and so his own Mega Metagross that has that Zen Headbutt, that's probably the most important Pokemon on Davide's team right now. And so for Serkan, on the other hand, he probably wants to try and stall out the Trick Room as well as he can, because he has a Landorus with a Choice Scarf waiting in the back, and that could be the one Pokemon on his team, on the other hand, to then deal with the Mega Metagross on his opponent's team. So taking out the Incineroar here with a double target pretty nicely, but since Serkan's Incineroar has lost his Mega Berry, no recovery for that Pokemon, and there's only a couple more turns left of Trick Room for Davide. But Incineroar didn't go for the Protect this turn, and usually Incineroar doesn't carry Protect. So if Davide wants to knock out the Incineroar this turn and then target down the Landorus on Serkan's side with an Ice Beam the next turn, it can be very difficult for Serkan to actually protect that Venusaur.
Exactly, we saw both players, I believe, going for the double target there, both onto the opposing Incineroars, but unfortunately it wasn't enough for Davide to KO the Incineroar on Serkan's side. It was also a good sort of double up in case maybe the Landorus came in, but you can see it's only on 22 HP at the moment, but you know, he managed to get rid of the opposing Incineroar, so that Intimidate option has gone from Davide. He's able to now bring in his Gastrodon though, however, so this is a Pokemon that, you know, you don't want to be facing it down as a you know, you don't want to face down the Venusaur, but the Incineroar there is going to be heavily threatened. And again, if he does want to bring in that Landorus, it's going to be Choice Scarfed, so it's going to be so speedy on the field at the moment. He's lost his knockoff option, so if you know, Serkan's able to stall out the rest of this Trick Room and be able to preserve that Landorus, bringing it in with the Choice Scarf.
Yep.
Metagross as well is not going to appreciate taking an Earthquake or anything like that, but Gastrodon here joining the field is just going to go straight for a Protect straight away. Porygon 2 going to go for the Ice Beam. And this going into the Incineroar, it should be enough to pick up the KO. Fantastic, and that's obviously great if, you know, Landorus had maybe switched in. That would have been able to pick up the KO there as well, as Venusaur just goes for a Giga Drain, but will just connect straight onto the Protect.
Yeah, I was going to say that there is a huge decision here coming out for Serkan, whether he wanted to switch in the Landorus, expecting a Thunderbolt to come out from that Porygon of his opponent. Instead he decided to stay in there, and he kind of made the right call as the Ice Beam was coming his way. However, his Incineroar, unfortunately for him, not able to withstand that attack of this Porygon. I didn't see which download boost the Porygon get, but there is a decent chance that it probably was the special attack boost, and that was enough to knock out that Incineroar. Of course, also, we did see that Incineroar was not built to use an Assault Vest, for example, as its item. And even if it did, that was removed anyway by the knockoff. But now we are in the situation that Serkan really didn't want to face. His Choice Scarf Landorus is on the field against two Pokemon that can really hit it with either Ice Beam or, in case of Gastrodon, also Scald potentially. It also carries the Ice Beam because, of course, Landorus is so common, and that is already enough to knock out that Landorus on Serkan's side, and Davide really up 3 Pokemon to that lone Mega Venusaur, and of course Venusaur will probably get a Retaliate KO here with Giga Drain on this Gastrodon, but even then we still do have that Mega Metagross in the back waiting for Davide, and now it's a question of, well, does Zen Headbutt connect or does it not?
Exactly, that could be the tale of this game, whether Zen Headbutt is going to be an accurate move or not. But of course Venusaur here easily picks up the KO on the Gastrodon with the Giga Drain, as does Gastrodon with the Ice Beam on Landorus, so lots of big one-hit KOs being done here, and now I believe that was the last turn of Trick Room?
Yes, Trick Room is over now, and so there is the Mega Metagross, and now this is like a perfect anti-timing kind of for Serkan, because now the Metagross is faster, and we also know that Zen Headbutt does have a chance to flinch, so he could get a little taste of that once again.
Well, he does connect it. We're going to see if we're going to get the flinch and how much damage it does. Takes it down into the yellow. Doesn't flinch on this occasion, though. Will be able to get a leech seed off, but I don't think this is going to be enough. A combination of, even if he maybe wants to sort of avoid the miss with the Zen Headbutt, a double up from both Pokemon can do so much damage to Venusaur. Lives on 3 HP thanks to the thick fight ability, but I don't think all the leech seeds in the world are going to be able to save Venusaur from this game.
Well, he can still try and go for a double protect, because that Porygon, of course, also is under that leech seed effect. So, yeah, if he was able to get that and maybe Iron Head isn't enough, then there might be a chance that Serkan still could at least like hope for a Zen Headbutt miss, but Davide would need to assess the situation after those 2 protects. There is also a chance here that Davide targets down his own Porygon, actually, by the way. Goes for the Zen Headbutt. Yes, to stop the leech seed and get that off the field. Actually, I think I'm not really sure if I agree with this play here. Going for the recover because Porygon, I mean, it will still be able to go for Ice Beam. So actually, that it could be worth it because yeah, the double up with Iron Head and Ice Beam should certainly be enough to knock out the Venusaur, even after another protect here. But of course, Serkan has to try what he can do. He will. Yeah, most likely just attempt to go for this double protect here, and yeah, actually, Ipro was probably correct to keep the Porygon around because you really want to like lose to your opponent not going for the protect and attacking into the Metagross. There is the double protect attempt.
Doesn't get it,
does fail, and Zen Headbutt comes out, will connect. Both players shake hands, and Davide Kara will take this first round here at the Stuttgart Regionals over Serkan Tas.
I mean, that was still an absolutely fantastic game. Serkan there almost way for him to absolutely dominate through that game.
Yeah, well played on Davide's end, but of course also Serkan really trying to go with the Venusaur. I think it was a good idea for him to bring it out in the second game as well, even after seeing this in Headbutt. And he came kind of close to really putting Davide, like, he asked him a lot of questions in that game, and if he was able to knock out the Metagross before it had the opportunity to really hit that Venusaur with his Headbutt, then I think Venusaur might have been able to take home the game for Serkan. However, Davide realizing what the situation was, calling back the Metagross when it was most importantly, and then in the end eliminating both the Incineroar and the Landorus under Trick Room. So yeah, very well done. Also showing off that even though Gastron, as we were saying, a little bit more known to being a bulky Pokemon, unlike the Araquanid, which is another option for that slot on some of those teams. Gastron doing a lot of work there, really taking the attention from the Venusaur for a couple of turns where Serkan wasn't really doing too much with his Venusaur, going for like Giga Drain into Protect.
Just setting up some leech seeds as well. But you know, the Gastrodon took on a Venusaur.
Exactly.
And you know, even though it got KO'd, it still was victorious overall. So that was a nice little play there from Davide. But I think for me, the biggest sort of feature of that was the Zen Headbutt. Not something we would have expected, and I think if he didn't have that move on his Metagross, it would have been a slightly different game for Serkan. He might have had a little bit more of an advantage and wouldn't have had to have adapted so quickly throughout the game.
Exactly, so I do think that in theory Ice Punch and Stomach Tantrum is a little bit more clean, like you cover your edges a little bit better. However, on certain teams, in certain compositions, probably like using the Gastrodon also really gets your opponent to bring their grass types, like also the Amoonguss, which is another Pokemon that Zen Headbutt can really hit. But of course on the Mega Venusaur with Thick Fight ability, the difference between Zen Headbutt and Ice Punch damage is just like so huge. And Davide making a call here, potentially also being prepared a little bit for the metagame here. But yeah, we might be able to ask him about that in a little bit, getting a winner's interview. And we will be back after a very short break with Davide and to talk about him, how he feels after beating such a strong player.
Exactly. See you soon. Welcome back, Pokemon trainers. I am delighted to be joined by our round 1 stream winner, Davide Carrera, which was a fantastic game against Serkan Tas. Davide, how are you feeling after that game?
Oh yeah, it was a nice match. I mean, I was been lucky in a couple of times, but that's what happens when you play Metagross. I mean, Iron Head, it happens. I mean, but I know that Gastrodon was a really good pick against the biggest threats of the metagame. You just need to be careful of the grass types. That's why, like Venezuela. That's why I had the net bot on my Metacross just to deal with Venezuela better, and just need to carefully think of the game plan, like also in the first game. Even when I did knock off on Islanders, I mean, he could have gone for that power, but I knew he would have been scared of Ice Punch. So I mean, that's why I just attacked Venus. I was brought in a good position. My second game mean just I don't have flinch. I don't have flinch. Yeah, that game
The
went
Metagross
easier.
really put in the work for you with those flinches, but I think something we talked about a lot was the Zen headbutt choice.
Mm,
You know, we've seen so much at the minute. It's often Protect, Stomping Tantrum, Ice Punch, and
mm,
obviously Iron Head as well.
mm.
And I think that really took Serkan by surprise. And
Mm.
you've just mentioned now you sort of picked it specifically for Venusaur.
It also helps against Como, that is the one of the
It's on the
newest
rise at the
threats of the
minute.
metagame, as well as against Gengar, that is the common core. I mean, I already have two Ice-type moves with Porygon 2 and Gastrodon, so that's why, I mean, it was more important to have a Psychic-type move on Metagross.
Well, we certainly love to see it, and I think it really did give you that advantage being able to finish up that game
Mm,
nice and quick for round one as well.
mm,
You can sort of go back and focus going into the rest of the games.
yeah.
A few things we wanted to mention as well. One thing we were really impressed by was getting inside Serkan's head, and you called so many double targets
Mm,
correctly.
mm,
What was your thought process going through that? Were you really confident with all of those plays, and were you just really
mm.
sure of what Serkan was going to do?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of something you just learn from playing. I'm not playing something in a long time. I mean, like 1 year and a half. So just when you play in many games, then you'll start to learn how to when to do the right move. My thinking, like what your opponent will do if you were in his pants. So that's just what I thought. I
So
think
it's all the
I'll double
experience.
target and it will go well. You just have to
Double
believe in
target.
yourself.
Believe in your Pokemon, a few flinches here or there.
Yeah.
But no, it was really great to be able to sort of showcase that and using all your experience and expertise to really sort of dominate through that game. We were sort of having a little bit of a joke as well about that game two with the
Mm,
leads. There was Gastrodon versus Venusaur,
mm,
and sort of Gastrodon was in that little bit of a tricky position. What
mm.
were your thoughts going through there? You obviously wanted to preserve the Gastrodon, but
Mm.
you went for Protect and then switched it out. What were you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, almost thought about double targeting Venusaur because it was the most obvious choice to be to least seed Metagross, so it would have gone down to Earth Power plus the Netbot, but I mean, it was a very risky play. Maybe I could have done it after winning game one. It was already in a very good position, but I decided to play it carefully, and but without those flinches on Fini, maybe the game would have ended differently. So, I don't know. I mean, sometimes you have to make hard reads, but well, this time it went well anyways, so that's good.
It certainly did. You were able to clean up round one. So, about this tournament as well, you're
Mm,
doing really well on the championship points
mm,
ladder at the moment. What are your goals here? Obviously to win,
mm.
but you're really fighting it out for day two?
Yeah, I've been trying, playing many regionals in this new meta game. They didn't go well. It also this time I didn't have time to build a team for myself. So, but this time I built it. I mean, it was given by a friend of mine who helped me kindly. So
We've
I
been
will
sort of
thank
saying
him for sure. So if
Italy
things
all on
will
the
go
rise.
well, so well, that we'll see. Maybe I'll wait for for the words to build something on my own. Maybe I'll leave the best for
So
the
not
most
one big
important
Team
event.
Italy effort, sort of.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Well, congratulations on
Mm,
your round one victory. We'll
mm,
leave you to go sort of get prepared for game two,
mm.
round two
Thank you.
even. So good luck in the rest of the tournament. We'll
Thank
be
you.
back very soon for round two, guys. Don't go anywhere.
Uh,